We want to talk to our customers when things are red, not when things are green. We should be planting the seed with the customer every time they come in and letting
Yeah.
them know that there's nothing to sell. Everything's good. You're doing a great job maintaining your vehicle. And as that vehicle progressively wears, they know that it's not going to be a green conversation every time, but you're not going to hammer them over the head every time with a yellow or a red MPI. And that's the only time you want to talk to them. So we're missing the opportunity to build value and rapport with our customers every time they come in.
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. Today, I'm thrilled to have with me Wes Volker, parts director and self-proclaimed tire geek of Forest Lane Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Dallas, Texas. Wes is an expert in the tire industry who is passionate about helping dealerships strengthen their customer retention strategies through effective tire sales and service. Well, Wes brings a wealth of knowledge and a unique perspective on the role tires play in the dealership service experience. He understands the vital connection between tire sales and long-term customer loyalty, particularly the opportunities for parts managers to make tires a key part of the dealership's retention efforts. Wes, great to see you again and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. Wes, how did you become so passionate about helping dealerships improve their tire sales and retention efforts?
So, my dad's been in the industry my whole life. He was a parts manager and then a consultant for years. And I've watched all these different dealerships struggle with the same thing and hearing for the last 3 decades that tires are the number one defection point. Nobody wants to do anything about it. Nobody wants to believe. Nobody wants to buy in. It was one of those things that as I really started to dive in as a parts manager at a young age, I realized that it was something that was retaining customers for me. And we were in a snowbird community. So half of my year, my clients would leave. Well, then my remaining clients weren't buying from me. So I was only relying on a certain amount of clientele. So it allowed us to go from a 2.5% penetration to about 7% penetration in about 6 months. We've been able to do the same thing here at Forest Lane by implementing the same kind of practices. But it comes down to having manufacturers, distributor partners who believe and find somebody who's actually engaging in it and giving them some more information to where they can actually be a benefit to the customer experience. And that's where most of the things have been missing from what I've seen. Is just there's not enough people that are willing to pour into themselves to be able to give that information to the customers. And it was just one of those things that I realized the tires was a missing piece.
Sure.
It was massively missing. So whether you didn't know what right inventory to have, what brands to stock, manufacturers all have different things to hit levels. So you had to be strategic. So you had to learn brands.
Yep.
That was the fun part for me. So yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of strategy, there's a lot that I'd love to get into with you today, but let's kind of keep it at the 30,000-foot level to start.
Yeah.
From your perspective as a parts manager, what role do you see tires playing in the overall strategy for customer retention and dealership service departments? And really, why should parts managers pay particular attention to this?
Well, I'll tell you right now, my parts manager, Mark, is absolutely loving the credits that he sees on a weekly basis rolling from the manufacturer invoice because we're tagging all of the manufacturer benefits, we're leveraging all the programs, customers are receiving the benefits, we're being rewarded back by the manufacturer for participating in the program properly. It's just it's an incredible cycle when you leverage manufacturer programs because they truly want you to be successful because they know that tires are a key factor in retaining the customer. And when the manufacturer is willing to give you all that additional support and you're willing to do nothing with it, well, that doesn't make sense to me. I would rather focus my efforts on retaining my customers through tires in the shop than I would through wholesale in my own backyard, where I'm allowing them to take care of customers that I should be taking care
Yeah,
of.
for sure, for sure. From your perspective, Wes, and in your experience, what have you seen some of the biggest obstacles that are necessary to overcome in order to really be rocking in the tire business?
Ah, man, that's a loaded question. So there's a lot. Obviously, I believe that training is one of the biggest things that anybody can do for themselves. And tires are not one of those things to where it's a normal curriculum where manufacturer gives you, they tell you got to two different manufacturer classes and you're good, and that's all you need to know. That's not. There's tire basics. There's understanding the proper load and speeds for vehicles. Why manufacturers put certain load and speeds on their vehicles. Um, there's so many different factors that go into tires. Understanding the proper mix of inventory, understanding the return procedures, understanding making sure it leaves and comes out because tires have a DOT code. So you have to make sure you keep up on your inventory because it can age out just by DOT alone if you're not paying attention to stuff. Now, those are stores that don't pay attention to inventory. So, I mean, it's a pretty bad thing, but it can happen fast. And tires, because they're not of the normal maintenance mind or wholesale part mind, they look at it completely different. It's still a part, it has a part number, but they treat it different than the rest of the commodities they sell.
Yeah.
It's
So,
always been.
speaking about inventory management, talk to me a little bit how issues like inventory management and space constraints and supply chain limitations impact a dealership's ability to sell more tires, and what kind of strategies can parts managers and parts directors use to kind of navigate those challenges?
So one thing for sure is, the stores that are going to buy into doing tires more than others are going to be stores that aren't doing tons of wholesale volume, where their warehouses are maxed out with tons of additional wholesale parts because they're chasing that wholesale number, right? So the minute you talk to tires about a wholesale manager, he's automatically, that's taking up too much space. I don't sell it as much. I have one outlet, which is my service drive. They don't ever sell what I stock. We've heard all the stories, right?
Yep.
So that's the biggest thing is a lot of parts managers believe that they can retain that sale and keep that customer because they have a warehouse that's 3 miles down the road and they don't have to stock anything and they can keep every one of those customers. Disagree,
Hmm.
100%. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you need to have an overabundance of inventory, but you should have your top movers at least bare minimum in stock for every one of your popular fitments that would populate your drive.
Hmm.
But again, it's monitoring it, it's measuring it, it's making sure you're keeping up with the trends, making sure that you're keeping up with what's coming through the drive every 6 months. It's constantly analyzing and making sure that you have the proper mix and making sure that you're picking partners that are actually allowing you, because as you increase in volume, now all of a sudden your daily intake of invoices and everything else increases. Well, if you don't have a solid process and you're dealing with somebody who's making your job harder, that's something that you have to learn really quick. So I had an inside with understanding the distributors that I've already worked with in the past. So we don't have those issues moving forward. So it's just partnering with the right people and making sure that we do keep more inventory than most stores, but our numbers also reflect it. So
Yeah. What, in your view, Wes, what can parts directors, parts managers do in terms of working with service advisors and technicians to ensure that they're, consistently informed and staying on top of tire needs and opportunities for replacement and maintenance?
training, educating yourself, educating your employees, leveraging the resources that you have with distributor partners, manufacturer partners that'll come out and actually train your staff and
Hmm.
helping you. You can't do this by yourself, and dealerships are not experts when it comes to tires for the most part. We want to believe that they are. We've gotten better, but collectively as a whole, we are not experts in tires when it comes to what the perception is from the public that we are a discount tire or a competitor, retail store. Dealerships are not looked at as a destination for tires, and that has been a choice
Yeah.
of ours for generations. That doesn't have to be that way, but that's just the way it is.
Do you think that's a question of awareness more than anything else? Why is it that not why is it that customers don't think of the dealership first for tires typically?
We don't talk about it. We we
Yeah.
we want to talk to our customers when things are red, not when things are green. We should be planting the seed with the customer every time they come in and letting
Yeah.
them know that there's nothing to sell. Everything's good. You're doing a great job maintaining your vehicle. And as that vehicle progressively wears, they know that it's not going to be a green conversation every time, but you're not going to hammer them over the head every time with a yellow or a red MPI. And that's the only time you want to talk to them. So we're missing the opportunity to build value and rapport with our customers every time they come in.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're identifying the tires and the safety concerns of the vehicle every time they come in and making sure that they understand that we don't care about all the other stuff. Their safety comes first. And
Yep.
and the first person that really goes after that model, tires aren't a based on profit on normal parts sold. Tires are not the same profit margin. 100%. Tires are still profitable because when you're getting everything else, you're getting the alignments, you're getting the brakes, you're getting the shocks, you're getting the customer to stay here to spend that. All of our competitors, they get all that business, and we've been sending them to them for years.
Yep.
Oh, we didn't want to do tires. Well, we're too busy. Go down the street. Well, there goes your CP work. That was smart.
Yeah, and there's still in 2024, there's still a long way to go with respect to increasing that awareness of tires in the mind of your consumers. We spoke about this the last time we talked, where our company did last year a service retention study where we surveyed 1,400 customers, service customers of new car dealerships who had a maintenance service done in the previous 90 days. And we asked them a series of questions around tires. And two-thirds of those customers went somewhere else the last time they needed tires. And a significant portion of those customers, when we asked them, were you aware that your dealership sold tires? A significant portion said either no or they weren't sure. So,
Yeah,
that leads
it's
me
not good.
to it really means to me that you cannot over communicate when it comes to tires.
Yeah, you can't. The biggest thing about it is every customer's going to need them. And
Yeah.
if you're informing yourself and you're training yourself and you're up to date with the knowledge and what the customer is asking for from the performance aspect of the tire that you're helping select for them, you're doing a disservice. You need to educate yourself. You need to make sure that every one of our employees, it is a condition of employment to be at the highest level of training certification for the tire program because I want to make sure every one of our customers is receiving the most informed decision they possibly can, whether they buy from us or not. They know they're going to have a conversation with us about tires, whether they need tires or not.
Yep.
I don't want them to worry. I don't want them to wonder. Every time they come in, we're going to inform them of what's going on and the status of their safety of the vehicle.
Yep. Yep. So, with respect to EVs, what do you see as some of the challenges and opportunities as, EVs become a higher and higher percentage of a dealership's service business? And granted, it's gonna be a long road before before they become the dominant vehicle coming in for service. But from a tire perspective, what does your crystal ball show when it comes to EVs and the role of tires and the role that dealerships can play in that?
Well, when your maintenance items start drying up and tires are one of your only maintenance items, becomes pretty important to make sure you're selling those, right?
Yep.
So I think people that aren't bought into tires now, if they don't wake up and realize the money and opportunity that's going to be lost, they're not going to have anything to service on these cars. So it's a massive opportunity for anybody who's in the automotive industry to engage in tires. But with that comes a new challenge and a new understanding of learning because there's more torque, there's more, weight. There's a lot more that goes into selecting tires for these vehicles as well. So again, product knowledge, right?
Yep.
Understanding who's going to offer the product that's best for these vehicles under the extreme torque and extreme weight that they all possess. So these are things that are going to continue to pop up in questions with what's going on with EV is what tires are going to hold up the best under these kinds of conditions.
Yep.
And the tire manufacturers are starting to develop and engineer the tires designed exclusively for EVs. Some of them have tires that are fitment ready for it, but not exclusively designed for it. And we're going to see how well some of those things perform over time. But I mean, so far, there's a lot of people that are coming out with product that they're saying is EV compatible. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's a massive opportunity. Again,
Yeah.
with oil changes and things like that going out the window for those kinds of vehicles, you're going to have to do things that retain the customer back here.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm curious. I know that um, you and Eddie Campbell, your fixed ops director, and the dealership ownership is fully committed to tires. And so tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about how that came to be.
Eddie and I have had a dream of working together for 11 years. We've tried on and off a few different times. I've always had a dream. I mean, I wanted to open up my own tire store. I've built my own plans for so many different models of actual shops, but it takes a lot. My wife is, a homemaker, so I'm not afforded the luxury of just going out and doing it on my own and throwing it all up in the air and hoping.
Yep.
So I just couldn't do it. The opportunity presented itself with Forest Lane and the new owners as well as Eddie to actually embrace what is normally not done in a dealership world. We carry over 300 tires in stock in a Mopar store. Our tire penetration last month was 11.57%, over 60% competitive makes. This month, we're off to a really strong start, 8%. Yesterday, we were at 16.67, but there's some data that came in. It was a little heavy. I mean, our tire numbers are ridiculously strong. Stores that have 3 times, 4 times the RO count we have sold less tires than we did last month.
Wow.
So it's just a dedicated focus. It's leveraging the programs. It's having conversations with every customer that comes in. I mean, I'm a parts director, and a lot of parts directors don't want to talk to customers about a lot of different things. My office and my desk is front row center. As soon as you walk in the dealership, I'm the first person that a customer gets to see. I want to talk to every customer I can. And even if I'm not engaged in them directly from the initial point of contact, it could be an advisor bringing them over to me. I want to make sure that if there's something that's preventing us from informing the customer of a necessary purchase of tires, that they're informed of all the different options that are available for them with what we offer. So that's one of the coolest things about being in my spot is I truly get to engage with every customer I possibly can.
That's great. Yeah, and there's nothing like being there right on the front line to really be able to see what's working, what's not working, what needs to be tweaked,
Yeah.
that type of thing. Yeah, for
When
sure.
you get sharing the excitement with the advisors when they're winning with it.
Yeah,
You know, that's the biggest
that's
thing.
right. Yeah,
When you watch somebody embrace a change that allows them to flourish and go an extra level for their customers, they I mean they're out doing their own things for advertising to a customer base with their own Facebook ads.
yeah,
I mean, it's just they're and tires created it. So if you create the proper atmosphere with tires, you can get the buy-in, but you have to have belief and you have to have a process and an actual vision behind it. It just
yeah,
can't be, oh, well, we need to stock tires and you need to sell tires. It doesn't work like that.
yeah. I know that you told me previously, and I want to ask if you could repeat this, that you made a statement to your dealership ownership about what your vision was for the business for the and when I say business I mean the entire dealership. Would you share that with our listeners?
We're a dealership that sells tires. We just happen to service your car too.
I love it.
I mean, but that's the model, right? I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, when you put new tires on a customer's vehicle, if you've qualified that customer properly for what they're intending those tires to do, it's the closest it feels to leaving the showroom floor. Well, I
yeah,
don't want anybody else to let them feel that.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
make sense to me. Never has.
yeah, absolutely. Or at the very least, it's like getting a new pair of shoes. You know, you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel good walking
Yeah,
out in a new pair of shoes.
feels great. You might trip a couple times too, but it's all
That's
right.
all right.
Yeah, for sure.
uh, so you mentioned penetration rates. Can you talk to us a little about the KPIs, the key performance indicators that you kind of key in on
Yeah.
to manage the business and keep it on track when it comes to
Yeah.
tires?
So basically, the Mopar tire program, bare minimum penetration should be at 3%.
So when you say, could you define penetration?
Oh,
Is it
so
for
tire penetration is based on the amount of customer pay warranty vehicles coming through your service drive based on a percentage of those vehicles that would normally require tires.
Yep.
So we average between 13-14% is what normal people say. I think it's more than one in four vehicles actually has a tire concern now.
Okay.
So I think the numbers are actually climbing a little bit more than what they report. But on average, if you're getting between 12 to 15% penetration on tires, you're capturing most of the business that's coming through your drive.
Great.
So being at 11.67% penetration is pretty stellar. We did a really good job. Um, the months before were all increasing. And again, this only happened in 4 months. So Eddie and I have only been here Eddie's been here since June. I've been here since July. So it's been a complete and total shift in focus to make sure that we're doing more with our customers than had ever been done before. I mean, we had I forget what the number was. It was stupid, 2,393% increase year over year on tires versus
Hmm.
October last year versus October this year. So I mean, it's insane what the store's been able to accomplish. But I think that it just comes down to the advisors engaging, working the program, um, making sure everything's happening the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you track those numbers yourself, or do you get them out of the DMS? What's the process by which you gather that information?
Yeah, so they report it to our dashboard on a daily basis.
Okay.
It pulls all the RO data that comes over, and the penetration is based on one tire or more. I believe that tire number actually needs to probably jump up to two or more. That's the
Hmm.
way the Ford program does, because two or more, you're actually selling a tire. One, customer probably came in needing the tire, right? So either way, we're still measured the same way as everybody else. So our numbers being where they're at, we're a small store with a low RO count, and we were number one in growth, and we were only number two in total sales, and that was against a store that was doing something as a buy two get two during the buy three get one. So um, knowing that we had an advisor that sold 129 tires by himself because he's focused on it and he understood what it could do for himself,
Wow.
it's pretty insane. I mean, he did more tires by himself than a lot of stores do for the month.
Yeah,
So I mean, massive kudos to him. But again, it's finding it's it's a fuse. All you have to do is find somebody that has a fuse, and if you can light that fuse, watch what happens. But you got to find somebody that cares enough about it, and you got to find somebody that's willing to give the knowledge for them to care enough about it.
for sure. That's fantastic. I'm curious too. Do you see any data on retention rates of customers who do purchase tires from you, and what their retention rate is post tire purchase?
So I know that you have a 75% chance that your customer's not coming back if you don't sell them tires.
Yeah, that's at least,
So
yeah. It
I
may be
mean,
higher
so
than
when
that.
you think about when you think about it, I believe that the number for what people say, I believe that we are a true tire store. We're a destination at this point, and we're going to prove it more and more because of the things that we're doing that are very different than a traditional store. But what I truly believe is that the penetration number is based on what should be coming through your drive on its own. We are actually driving our penetration number on our own by actually acquiring customers specifically for tires with massive email ad campaigns, direct mail campaigns, Facebook marketing campaigns. I mean, there's all sorts of different things that we're doing. So our RO penetration should be even higher than most because of the fact that we are actually focusing on acquiring customers based on tires first.
Hmm.
So, declined ROs. Well, why are we not sending out mailers and talking to customers that have already been to us that have declined tires previously when there's a sale going? So it's leveraging all the different opportunities of things that we have at our disposal that normally just everybody lets go because we want to react instead of being proactive.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait for people to show up. I got to go get them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that sparked something to me that I want to have our data analysts go back and take a look at what those retention rates are from customers who do purchase in your, I think your example is a good one, two or more tires, and what impact that does that have on their 12-month retention rate, coming back for schedule maintenance and that type of thing. I think that'd be really interesting to look at and look at over time too, because as your tire sales grow, that should have an impact on bringing more customers back for service on a regular basis.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Your maintenance penetration drives up too. If you're a Mopar store, maintenance penetration is something that they key in on. Well, if your maintenance penetration, you start adding tires to it, tires are expensive. They're going to help
Hmm.
drive your maintenance penetration up.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not hard.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Well, that's fantastic, Wes. Thanks for sharing all that with us. You got so many ideas, and as you can tell, you already got my wheels spinning about things that we can do to help you help your customers more. I guess
Man,
is the best way to say it. And
anytime you can help me and I'll help you, I'm good. I'm totally good.
love it, absolutely. We'll keep working on raising that awareness of tires. So, at some point in the near future, we'll have most customers thinking of the new car dealership first for tires, and that's our goal. I know that's your goal for sure, because that's
Oh, for
all
sure.
that's all going to fall to increasing customer retention rates and fall right to the bottom line. So, Wes, thanks so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us today, and appreciate your time. If any of our listeners have any questions for you or want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to find you?
So they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Wes Volkert, or they can reach out to me, Forest Lane CDJR, email address, wes.volkert at flcdjr.com. direct phone line into Forest Lane Pit Stop, which is our tire center, is 469-445-3833.
Super. Well, we'll include all that in the show notes as well. Wes, thanks
Perfect.
so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Bill, thank you so much for having me. It was great. It's an honor.
Of course. You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.